Good morning, Body Balance community. We are here again for week 4 of Finding Balance in Quarantine. This week we are going to be talking about the brain-body connection, how your brain functions and what that means when you come to physical therapy, what it means to learn something new, and the factors, most importantly sleep, that can impact your ability to learn and process new things.
Right. And so, even though we are physical therapists and we deal with the body, not many people recognize that your brain, that's your CEO, that's your control center. And so we need to put all these factors in to making sure that how the brain is working and making sure that it's functioning at its best so that we're treating injury the best way that we can. So what typically happens, everyone is aware of the term muscle memory, or kind of just how things become automatic on a day-to-day basis. If you think about driving a car or just all the things that you do during your day that you don't even have to think about because your body has memorized how to move that way. So that is great, we use that to our advantage, but on the other end, on the rehabilitative side, what we see as physical therapists is sometimes people's muscle memories and their motor patterning changes, and that happens for a multitude of reasons. I mean, mothers, for one instance, kind of maybe get used to holding a baby and standing on one side of their hip, and then after the infant has grown into a toddler and has grown up, they're still finding themselves shifting over to one side. Another example that I was saying yesterday in my workshop at the library was that someone with knee osteoarthritis, if it's painful to walk up the stairs, to bend your knee, or to stand up from a sitting position, and you're trying to favor that leg, and you're moving over to the other side to try to relieve pain on your knee, which is okay temporarily, but then you don't understand that that's the new pattern that your body is developing, which then is loading through extra or different structures. You could start to have some hip pain on the other side, or even on the same side, some back pain if you're starting to shift over to one side or the other as you're walking. And this, although this is a short-term thing maybe, but as you keep doing it for weeks, months on end, it becomes your normal muscle memory. So as physical therapists, we kind of need to reverse that so that all of the structures, we talk a lot about posture, but making sure everything is stacked up right so that you're getting the least amount of stress through the most amount of structure so that everything is distributed correctly. So this doesn't just happen overnight. We don't expect you to teach you one thing and then you just pick it right up. There are actually stages of motor learning, or how to stages of motor learning to teach you how to do a new activity. And I will talk about that, but so did you have another example that you wanted to share?
Well, no, I mean, I think just in general, that same idea that Cassie is talking about in terms of maybe we have knee osteoarthritis, or if we are consistently carrying something in the same way, after an injury, or maybe after we've had surgery, or maybe we had some sort of neurological compromise, our brain mostly is going to create the path of least resistance, okay? So it's very lazy. Our brain will say, this is the easiest way to do this is how I'm gonna do it, regardless of whether or not it is pulling in the correct muscles, if it's creating good movement patterns. And so that's kind of right, as physical therapists, we're always looking at why did this start, where did it come from, and let's improve those patterns and let's use the muscles that should be responsible for this movement so that you can function better and that you feel better overall.
Yes. Yeah, function and feeling is what we like to hear to be as optimal as it can be.
Yeah.
So those stages of motor learning, there's 3 of them. The first one is your cognitive stage, the next one is associative, and the last one is autonomous. So with the first one, with the cognitive stage, it kind of cognitive cognition, it sounds kind of what the title is. It's your body is first just trying to figure out what it's supposed to do. So if you think about first learning how to drive a car, or if you've ever taught anyone how to drive a car, it's very, you have to break everything down into steps. You have to first figure out where the gear shift is, where the neutral, drive, reverse, that whole order of the gear shift. it takes a lot of effort and a lot of not necessarily physical effort. Some of the exercises that we teach towards the beginning are pretty simple, strength-wise, but it takes a lot of effort for your brain to find a certain muscle and get in tune with it. So that's the first stage, and we do see a lot of errors with it, which is okay, and it's part of the learning process. I know I myself am sometimes stubborn, and I like things to get done quickly, and I know a lot of people are the same way, but we like to remind our clients, and I have to remind myself sometimes too, when I'm learning a new skill, it takes time, and that's okay, and it's part of the process.
Yeah, and sometimes I think that the idea behind our first session can be very, this is all we want you to do. There's one thing that we're asking you to do, and we need you to do it in a quiet space. You need to put some, you need to put some mental thought behind it, and that's because we know we're giving you the information that you're learning in that cognitive stage. So it's not, there's not a lot of variation that's going on with it.
Right. But as you do start to get more familiar with the exercise or the muscle recruitment or whatever it is we're asking you to do, then the next stage is associative. So this is more fluid, your body knows what it's supposed to do, but it's still effortful. I mean, it's still challenging. The other thing that's a positive is that your body is able to recognize when something is wrong or when something is off. You might not be able to fix it, but if you can recognize it and listen to your body, that's a good indication that you're on the right track and your body's learning. So some people might get frustrated that they know something's wrong but they can't fix it, but if they know something's wrong, that means that you're in that next stage of motor learning, so that's a good thing. As physical therapists, what we like to do, or what needs to be done especially in this stage, is that the practice has to be effortful. So I really like to say to my clients and my patients that if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And this goes with all aspects of life. So if you're not challenging yourself, you're not going to be getting better. So as physical therapists, what our job is to make sure that it's the Goldilocks amount of effort. Not too much and not too little, but just right, so that you can keep growing in those neural connections and your brain-body connection is getting stronger. And then that last stage is the autonomous stage, and it's automatic. So going back to that car example, you are able to, you've been driving for years, you can easily merge onto the highway with your blinker on, checking your blind spot, and then maybe there's a podcast or a radio program going on and you're able to listen to it. So you are able to perform the task, but bring in other pieces of information are in your brain because your body movements are automatic. So it takes a lot less effort, and this is what we're really trying to get to as physical therapists because, again, like Zoe said, we're all about function. So we're wanting you to be able to go on a walk outside, and if you're hearing some cars go by and you need to check to see if there's any cars to cross before crossing the street, and you kind of trip a little bit, that your body has a good enough muscle memory to catch itself, and your muscles can catch you to prevent a fall. The other thing about this last stage is that you're able to detect error and correct it. So just with that same example, you can detect that you're tripping, but you can catch yourself because your muscles, they've been here before, they know what to do, and they're able to correct your movement. So these are the stages of motor learning, and all this process is going on in your brain. But another thing that we're going to talk about today, what Zoe will talk about in just a moment, is how to make sure that your brain is working optimally. And so there's several factors on that. So go ahead, Zoe.
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of this is that with being a physical therapist, we have to understand the factors that can play a role in our patients and our clients' ability to learn new tasks, learning tasks and how to do their exercises most efficiently. So again, we're always asking these questions on short-term memory. How much sleep are you getting? What is your diet like? Because all of those things, as you've heard over these past several weeks, they're vitally important to how we can do our job and how much of an improvement we can make with our clients. I think consistently we ask, how is your sleep? How long are you sleeping every night? And the reason why we ask that is because we know that the duration of sleep that you're getting plays a role in your brain's ability to make new memories and process new ideas and learning. The guideline and the understanding that we have at this point is that we need to get more than 6 hours of sleep in order for the part of our brain to even turn on and do its job. The hippocampus is the part of our brain that is responsible for creating new memories, whether or not we are asleep, and other parts of our brain are responsible for when we're sleeping. We know that you need to get a good amount of sleep, so more than 6 hours, the night before you come and see us in order to make good memories, in order to process the information that we're giving you and store it. And you also need to get more than 6 hours of sleep the night after you come and see us. So if you come in on a Tuesday and you tell us that you've only gotten 4 hours of sleep, we may change and we may go over the things that we've already known that you have already learned how to do, because it may not be in anybody's best interest to put energy towards the fact that we're trying to teach you something new, because your brain just doesn't have that capability at that point. We also, so different stages of sleep create different changes within your brain. We know, the REM sleep, that rapid eye movement, it's vitally important in our general mental health as well as our emotional health. So we definitely, that's kind of what we've been talking about, throughout all of this, is how that mind-body connection makes a difference in how we do our job and how you participate whenever you come to physical therapy. The other important part of our sleep cycle and our sleep stages is deep sleep, which is not REM, so we're not in that dreamy that dreamy stage, but it's a deep sleep, and this is really important in flushing out waste, revitalizing your brain, and creating a good environment within your noggin in order to allow your brain and your body to function well the next day. So I think we've all kind of woken up, and maybe it seemed we slept for a good minute. We slept for that good duration of time, but maybe it means that our sleep that night wasn't consistent. We were waking up. It just means that we didn't have consistency within each one of those stages for our brain to repair and to restore, for the memories to be processed. We also look, we know the connection, when all of this kind of came together, was looking at how our duration of sleep impacts our memory and our ability to learn, and also Alzheimer's and dementia. So if we're consistently not getting more, 7 to 9 hours of sleep, it does have a high correlation to onset of some of these memory type problems moving forward.
So do you have any recommendations about what you can do to make sure you're getting enough sleep?
Well, if we know, if your answer is I only sleep 3 hours a night, or I go to sleep and I have to wake up because I just wake up, or maybe I have to use the restroom, the recommendation at this point is that you reach out to somebody, a physician or a sleep specialist that can figure out what's going on.
Yes.
I think Cassie she said that there's a lot of applications within our phone systems, even our watches, our smart watches, that will allow you to make that judgment on, am I getting sleep and am I getting that duration of sleep that's appropriate? We definitely encourage overall to limit or completely get rid of alcohol, because it creates sleep fragmentation. So that means you go to sleep, it'll put you to sleep, but then you're going to wake up several times throughout the night, and none of that is within that duration that we need.
Not getting that consistent 6 hours.
Correct. Yeah. The other thing is just make sure that it's dark. You're limiting the amount of light that you're getting before you go to sleep. And then also, if you are trying to go to sleep and your house or your room is hot, it's not going to happen. So having a cold environment is also very important, because our body temperature, for us to get good sleep and stay in good slumber, our body temperature has to drop. Everything kind of slows down, and when we're hot, it keeps all of those, where our heart rate stays higher, and our body isn't able to kind of slow everything down like it should when we sleep.
Yeah, that's suggestions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what we've talked about for the past couple weeks and what we will still continue to talk about is our specialty is we are doctors of physical therapy, but there are so many other components to your wellness and health that are going to impact rehabilitation. And so it's so good to talk about these things because we are so passionate to make sure that you guys can function well and what else, just have freedom in your movement. But we have to consider all these other factors. So just like Zoe said, reaching out to a sleep specialist or a nutritionist to kind of make a team to improve your wellness overall is so important. You deserve it for yourself, and yes.
So I think next week we will also be posting. We have kind of switched over because our clinic schedule has increased.
So
So we will just be posting these videos at 10:30 on Fridays. The topics will vary in terms of what we're speaking about every week. We may change the idea. I mean, hopefully everybody should be staying at home, but hopefully we aren't thinking that we're in quarantine at this point. But yeah, so look for our posts every week at about 10:30 on Friday. And if anybody has any questions or would like to follow up about any of this, don't hesitate to email us. You can contact us through our Facebook page or even just through our website overall, which is www.bodybalancelakeWay.com. And thanks so much for watching, and we will see you guys next week.
Yes, have a beautiful day.